This is going to be a short video presentation on networking, and hopefully it will help you understand the basics of networking. So the basics. First of all, how does it all work? We're going to look at two different devices, switches and routers. They make up the backbone of all networks, and hopefully by the end of this presentation you'll be pretty familiar with both of them and how they work. Here's a picture of a typical switch. Most switches have several ports, Ethernet ports on them to connect them to lots of different devices. And here is what a typical router will look like. And we're going to look at what both of these devices do now. So a switch connects multiple devices on the same network within a building. And so the switch's main job is really to create the network, versus a router whose main job is to connect networks that are created. And so here is a picture of two computers and a server, a printer, and a copier, just your common office devices. And what these devices do to talk to each other and send information between each other is they use a switch. And so this all happens wirelessly for the most part. In most cases, sometimes they're still connected via cables, but what will happen is over wireless, you can say if you want to print a document, you will send the information to the switch, and the information you send will have the location's address, much like a mailing address where you want it to end up. So the printer will have its own address, and the switch knows where that is. And so the switch's job is to then take the incoming packet or the incoming data that you're sending and send it to the appropriate location. And so hopefully it gets there and you have your printed paper. Also among these devices that a switch is connected to is the router itself. And so the router, as I said, it is what ties multiple networks together. And so when you have these networks created, couple computers, couple printers, and you want to talk to another network. So say in this example we have two different buildings. Say one is the College Station location and one is the Bryan location. They will each have their own router, and to talk to each other, the routers create a route. And on this route, they find the fastest and a safest way to send information. And so here we have our packets, which are information, and they're being sent to each other. And they do this via the internet. And so the internet is good to know as like it's the biggest network. It is the network. And so information being sent through the internet is what a router does. I also wanted to bring up and mention what a firewall is. There's a little picture of it, but what a firewall does is it controls what information is flowing in and out of a network. Mainly is concerned with what information is flowing into a network. So it's like a specialized software, and it examines the incoming data, and really it's there to protect your network from those who wish to do it harm. Yeah, so that's good to know what a firewall does. And so here's a little fun representation of what is actually going on when you send that email. So starting over here at our left, our friend here, she wants to send an email over to a different network, and so we're going to watch where that goes. So every time you send an email, it's going to go through a switch, which is going to send it to a router, which is going to go through the internet, through another router, through a switch, and finally end up at the destination computer where you were sending the email to. And there's the little cat video that was sent. So recap. Switches, they connect multiple devices on the same network within a building. Really, they are what kind of builds the network together. A router, which is kind of part of that network, but it's what connects networks together. So a router is necessary in order to access the internet, in order to connect to another branch of a business or wherever you want to send information out, you need a router. Packet is what I talked about. Data, it's kind of a unit of data, and that's what is sent. And that's how data is sent through switches and through routers on packets. And lastly, firewall. Firewall is just that specialized software that examines your incoming data, and it really is just there to protect your network against attacks. And that's really it. That's the kind of fundamental, bare bone basics of networking. It's really cool to see how it all works, and hopefully now you have some basic understanding. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.